Hi everyone. So today I have Surya, who is has been a CMO for a couple of decades, and he's also my alumni. So pleasure having you over the call, and it will be my pleasure to learn something from you and for our audience. So if you want to give a short introduction, although I know it will be really great for our audience.
Hi, Suryansh. Thank you for having me. So, I've been a CMO for a few years because you have to earn that badge. I was head of marketing before that. I have about 2 decades worth of experience in agencies and some startups. I've worked with listed companies. What has been interesting throughout the journey is while selling or working with McDonald's is interesting, selling with Coke is interesting, selling experience is also interesting, selling B2B service is also interesting. So, marketing is one of those fields where there is never a dull moment. So, whoever is in this space and whoever is in the allied spaces is in for a thrilling ride. That also means that you can't follow a game plan. You cannot have a checklist and just say, Acha, today you'll do this, tomorrow you'll do that. It doesn't work that way. Every day is a fresh new challenge. And I'm sure people who are in the exploratory phases of their career will find most career choices are explorative in the beginning. But even at the middle or the fag end, marketing continues to be interesting. So it's a very interesting journey.
That's really amazing, and especially as you said that you have been in this domain for 20 years, right? So you have seen how the market has evolved. I mean, starting from the era where we had to use dial-up connections to wait or download the movie overnight to watch it the next day, to an era where you can watch a movie on the go on your phone, right? So from the perspective of marketing, how have you seen this shift going from like 20 years back to now with the A coming in? How do you see the marketing and different parts of it evolving? And founders and marketeer, what should they keep in mind to, be at pace with how the market is changing so they are not left behind?
It does look like everything has changed. So, and the first marketing communication must have gone out in, let's say, 18th century or so. I'm talking commercial marketing. I'm not talking about uh, people marketing themselves. I mean, people have been doing that for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years.
Yeah.
But let's talk about commercial marketing. So the commercial marketing, I don't think has changed. The first principles remain constant. First principles is you have to create awareness, you have to build relevance. So when you do stuff like that, you would see that the first principles of the matter do not change. Media has changed. So right from pamphleting to on-ground events to door-to-door sampling, those things still happen. But now you have digital media, which allows you to do unprecedented amount of measurement. Accountability has happened. Apart from that, if you ask me, I wouldn't say marketing itself has changed. Media management has changed. And with media management changing, CFOs and other CXOs ask for a lot of accountability from their marketing teams, which brings us to analytics. The amount of analytics that have happened now is a far cry from the basics of analytics that used to happen back in the day. So when we look at pamphleteering, people used to put numbers or tearaways. So those were attributions in the middle funnel and the bottom funnel. These many people called, these many people visited, but they were inexact. It was completely dependent on who was at the door, were they taking down notes. So you would get a basic feeling of, okay, so much attribution. Now you're in the space where you can actually track if you're a website or even if you're not, you can actually track how many people came from what source. Some claimed, but most measured, right? So
Yeah.
that has changed. The CMO of today and the marketing team of today have to be well versed with attribution, have to be extremely well versed in figuring out data collection protocols before they start an activity. It's a bad idea to do it after the fact. So that is how I think marketing has changed in a big way. The accountability has shifted. If you look at marketers about even 20 years ago, they were accountable for brand awareness as measured by research. Now they are accountable for sales. They are accountable for cart recovery, reviews, so much more, right?
Yeah.
But all boils down to measurement.
Yeah.
So that is how I would say the role of marketing or the expanse or expertise that is required for marketing has changed.
So, in a way, will you say that it has become more technical or scientific in a way that you need to understand data better, number crunching, tracking, all these things are becoming even more important than before?
It used to be the case earlier also, Surya, but the amount of data that you're getting in now
Hmm.
has, I think, increased several thousand fold. The speed at which you have to operate has changed so much.
Hmm.
So back in the day, when you send out a media plan, you would get 15, 20 days to release something. So you would do creative, you would test it, and then because there was a lot of time, and that creative would run its course across the whole year, sometimes across multiple seasons. How you're supposed to change creative every week. So the amount of data that you're collecting. I mean, you yourself are an analyst, so you know the amount of data points that Google Analytics alone throws at you. The biggest challenge I think that marketing still faces is the ability to cross check data across channels. So Google Analytics is showing you what happened on the site, but you have to blend that data from what is happening on Amazon, what is happening on ground inside your store, what is happening on an ad unit that you put on the open internet. While data was always bread and butter for marketing, the amount of data, the speed at which data is coming at you, and the speed at which you have to take decisions has
Hmm.
changed. It comes, I think, come to a point where unless good amount of data is given in an actionable format,
Yeah.
marketer can be paralyzed by the sheer amount of data and decision points that are coming through. And ultimately, the decisions are small. As far as the decision points that are of import are small. Once you finish your experiments and you've built a rule book for yourself. But how do you get to the point where you know what works for your business, what works for your brand at that specific time, given that specific situation? To give you an example, let's say that you operate a shop. What all variables impact the footfall to your shop should be known to you through multiple experiments. Some things you control, some things you don't control. For example, if there is bad traffic or if there is road work happening, will people still come to your shop?
Hmm.
Given that only the most hardiest customers will come to the shop on that day, do you still need to show a discount? So these are the decisions that a marketer typically faces on a day-to-day basis. How do you bring people in? How do you upsell them? How do you bring them back? These are the three levers. How do you pull them given external circumstances? And they change every day. So the amount of data has changed, the speed of transport, the speed of decision making has changed. That's big. You need an AI companion at this point.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And one of the things actually I wanted to ask, especially on behalf of a lot of young people, Gen Zs, who are actually doing something which is known as vibe coding these days. If you know, everybody's creating their own apps, their SaaS, their platform, right? And I've spent a lot of time on social media seeing like how excited people are. But one thing I see everybody's struggling is at marketing. Everybody has an app, everybody thinks their idea is good, and maybe some of them are, but it doesn't work that way that if you build they come, right? And as we know that these people don't have a bunch of, let's say, dollars of or money that go to start like performance marketing or experiment. So I know that you consult a lot of startups and companies, so imagine if you have joined their vibe coding startup, what suggestions or tactical level suggestion will you give them? I think that will be really valuable for these people because they don't have a starting point right now, frankly.
So I think whether it is vibe coding or hard coded or written in assembly language, the consumer doesn't care. Consumer is looking to buy or buy into a service that changes their lives. So whether it is vibe coding or not is immaterial, right? Because that's behind the screen. It's under the hood. The key thing with any business is distribution. Let's understand the TAM of the startup and at least once hit everybody in the TAM with the message of why their product stroke service is better than the best available in the market given price points, geographical restrictions, etc. That is the one key thing that they have to do.
But how?
That's a function of, for example, let's say you have zero money and you've built the same product as you're the 1,001th product in that space, then no amount of money is going to rescue you. But if you build something truly amazing, which is either a better mousetrap, so to speak, right? So you have one feature that is better, and that thus you've created something that you can talk about. Then go with PR. But if you ask me, founders cannot outsource their marketing to random people. Founders have to do things that don't scale well. They have to speak with a lot of people. They have to go speak with other founders. They have to go speak with their users on the ground and get the first 100, 150 signups manually.
Hmm.
Build that referral loop. Marketing is not going to solve the case if it's a product is mediocre. The marketing is not going to solve your distribution problem without money. If you build a good product and you've not told anybody, it's a best kept secret. Only you and your mother know about it. But if you have built a good product and you signed up the first 150 people,
Hmm.
150 is a Dunbar number, so I'm not even talking about 150 from randoms now, but 150 gives you a good amount of initial mass, especially if they are not related to each other.
To
So
start a viral effect.
It's good point to start. Get your feedback, do early beta, push it on to product hunt, get reviews on G2. So many things that you can do around it. But those are all tactical. The first 150 signups, you have to beat the payment. Beat the payment, go do deep dives, understand. Typically most founders, especially with vibe coding, are doing N of one. They're solving a problem for themselves,
Yeah.
right? So they have to validate their hypothesis by going and meeting real users and see if people are willing to pay for that. Back when I was coding, I had done a product on VB, which is a library app, which
Mhm.
I had done for myself. I realized it was so complicated because it was built for me. It had a very rudimentary UI, but for me, it was very useful. Of course, I stopped using it, but that was N of one. It really, I don't know. With N of one, you can only go so much. So they have to go beat the payment, and that's a key message that I want to leave with you. 150 signups, get it done in a conventional beat the payment way. Once you're done with that, then you have enough stories to create hooks and using organic means. Let's
Mm.
say on LinkedIn, on Product Hunt, etc. Go ahead and start talking about key features of the product, articulated in the way users find benefit.
Very interesting. That's really useful. I'm sure like that will give a lot of vibe coders a starting point.
But I'm saying again, I'm saying vibe coding, assembly language coding.
I know it doesn't matter.
These are all random words, right? Because the user is not impacted by how you code it. Maybe if you told me vibe coding, I would be worried about security, right? Because the same vulnerability that exists across all vibe machines or vibe products
Yeah.
will now affect this thing that I have downloaded from the internet.
It is, it is. But let's hope with time the security improves. Why I mentioned especially vibe coders is just that is also part of obviously marketing because you are identifying that ICP, although the rules remains the same, but it will get their attention and maybe they will listen about it because I've actually met a lot of Gen Zs who have build these kind of platform and then probably try to market their product with a budget of $100 a month, and obviously with $100 they end up getting nothing, and then even if their product is good, it essentially the conclusion that they draw out is that nobody wants to use it. And as you said that you built a library product for yourself, so you needed to find people who are like you, right? Essentially by nitpicking 150 of your own replica. That's the hard part that people are not willing to do because building has become so easy.
Not,
Marketing
I
industry.
think it's not that they're not willing to do, it's that they don't understand that part. That no matter what you do in vibe, real human beings live in the real life, right?
Yeah.
So you have to walk across, knock on doors, you have to go with your visiting card, speak with people. And while N of one is great, hypothesis, testing has to be done on N of 150. So you go to them and you speak with them. For all you know, your edge case might with small variants become a big story, right? So self-hosted apps abound, right? You probably use some of them. I use some of them. Self-hosted apps may you get all security that you want, right? And you can work on it. And when we speak with the guys who are developing it, we tell them small things, and some of them will give you that, or they will give you the code, so
Yeah.
you can put in the code yourself and make it your own. So that I think founders have to do increasingly more because of starting 150 can balloon into 1500, 15,000, and some of them will end up paying you.
Yeah.
A lot of these projects are amazing because they actually can make money if they're making a product that is not the same as 1,000 products are. Another wallpaper changer, I'm not going to pay for it, right? There are so many wallpaper changers, but you can develop it.
Yeah.
Another calendar scheduler, why would I pay for it? And increasingly everything becomes, okay, I built this same thing that everybody's paying for plus one feature. Like you use Calendly, I use cal.com. Cal.com is free for me. There are going to be other products that will come and say, "Acha, theek hai, this is part of the premium layer,
Hmm.
I will give that also as part of the free package."
Free package. Yeah. User acquisition.
That is just an incremental delta, very small delta. I think people have to look at it in a large way.
That's really helpful. So, since we talked about vibe coding, and I don't think 2, 3 years back or 4 years back we would have been thinking that this is a term that can actually come across. I'm sure, like coding was one of the toughest thing to do, especially if you didn't have the background. So, my question is, do you think that we will soon hear something as vibe marketing, or that is something that is not possible, or because people are talking about in close circle that okay, why marketing where you just go and talk to AI and it does execute a lot of stuff on your behalf.
Why not? So let's look at AI itself, right? Currently, as we stand, it's the sum total of everything that's gone behind, that's already happened. And it does an excellent job of figuring out and solving for questions that have already been asked and answered. The problem with using only Vibe is that you will not solve for tomorrow's problem. It will tell you what's worked in the past and it will use that to solve today's problem. So anything
Not
that is checkmark marketing, anything that is checkmark marketing, tick mark marketing will work for you. So for example, optimize this landing page for today's problems, it can do it. But can it solve for problems that have not happened yet? Like we were discussing, if wearables become a thing and you start interacting with the virtual world using things in your body, the UI UX will change. Can it optimize a landing page given there will be no landing page? So if we are completely interacting with everything using chat, voice, etc., with agentic coming in properly, my agent interacting with your website's agent, why is there a landing page optimization even? So everything that we've learned is great for things that are still going to continue. So you can use an excellent vibe marketing stack to do SEO till Google comes up with a new algorithm. Then it will take some time, gather all the data, and do. It's all normally incremental. It's not radical as far as Google is concerned. They will do some small changes, but they will not reinvent SEO. So you can probably use vibe marketing for that.
so you can
Landing page optimization. Sorry, go ahead.
so can we say low repetitive tasks can be done through vibe marketing, like reaching out to people?
Repetitive and what's happened in the past.
What's happened in the past?
So, for example, you can use any system to give you a TVC as long as you're providing the hook and you're giving the context and the insight. The systems can give you your VO, for example. It will give you a full TVC with voiceover script. But if you were to advertise something that has not happened before, it will require you to do the supply the thinking and execution can happen. So, even going forward, if it's completely new, paradigm shifting stuff. If you provide the hook, it will still provide you the video. As long as it required, what is required is a video. So you get what I'm saying, right? You will then do the thinking. But if you have to supply thinking and completely reinvent media, let's say it's olfactory senses. For the sake of argument, let's say you walk into you. There is a system that throws out smells while you're browsing the internet. Maybe in the game, you can actually inhale smell of freshly brewed coffee. You cannot ask the AI to do it at this time. Where there is data, where there is context is set, and we have results. No, why not?
That's very interesting. So essentially, humans will move to the task which requires more imagination, something new, new problems, and repetitive will be done by AI.
Old problems, freshly invented, can also be done by a human being. Then you have to give the context to the AI so it can develop the video for you. So my feeling is the entry level jobs in marketing where they get to sink or swim, where they're taught swimming per se, or they're taught the ropes, right? That will become tougher and tougher. But if we don't invest in those resources now, there will be no mid managers, there will be no top managers in 10 years' time.
And we are seeing that trend, right? People graduating from college or even having 6 months experience or internship, they're finding it very hard. And that's not even limited to marketing. I'm seeing it across product tech everywhere. And one of the most worry thing I'm seeing is that we are seeing a lot of forced founders. Like especially on Twitter, if you sit and build in public, people 18 years of age doing startups because they couldn't find the job, right? That's not how you should enter being a founder, because it's really tough, and they haven't seen how it works, a lot of aspect of business. So what is your suggestion for fresh graduates, or let's say somebody with 1 years of experience, when we are saying that it's tough to get into early, let's say starting point of any kind of job these days, and then the problem that you are saying we will face probably 3 4 years 5 years down the line, we are not thinking clearly, but these people are facing that problem today itself.
True, true, true. Here is how I would play this game. Every recession used to have the same problem. So 2002, you had the same issue. 9/8, you had the same issue. 12/13. So there's always these peaks and troughs. And you must have seen during 20, during the COVID time, some sectors hired insanely huge amount of people. Now they're shedding all of them. First thing that I think freshers have to do is figure out which industries are hiring. Second is figure out allied roles to those industries that they want to be part of. Let's say somebody is interested in chemical processes. When I was younger, I wanted to be part of 3M. They used to keep doing interesting stuff. Now, I didn't get 3M, but I thought, okay, if 3M is not working for me, there are creative elements of being in 3M. Can I look at something like that? So when we look at freshers, let's say they want to end up in marketing and marketing roles are not hiring, at least in their category. Could they maybe join advertising agencies, event agencies, below the line agencies that are still hiring? Because those roles cannot be outsourced to AI at this point. Robotics have not taken over at this point. Be in that space, make useful connections. And as things improve, you have an opportunity to move into marketing, which is what you wanted to do. Let's say things don't improve, but you enjoy what you're doing, you can still continue in that task. Let's say after 3 years or so, you realize this is not my cup of tea. Then you've lost nothing. You can easily jump. Apart from this is very geographically sensitive, what we're discussing. Dubai will be different from Bangalore, and both will be different from what is happening in Nigeria. So you can change your context, you can change your category, you can look at allied industries in those spaces. The other thing is, if you are lucky enough to be in a well to do family, you can also look, specialize, or study further to change your context. Let's say that you studied in India, you want to look at marketing in India, and you see there is nothing interesting, but you have the money. Maybe you can go and study in New Zealand, you can study in Australia, you can study in Europe, right? You can study even in America or Canada. What this allows you to do is changes your context. South America is a fully unexplored continent. As far as Indians are concerned, Indians always think of going to Europe or America, right? So this is an opportunity. Change your context, see what is happening in the allied space. Other thing that I would urge most of these freshers to do is that they really have to work hard in building a personal brand for themselves. And that doesn't mean regurgitating other people's blogs into funny videos. Think deeply, read deeply, figure out what is it that they want to say about themselves and what kind of content they can create for themselves. Thus, building that slight space around them, which will help them maybe in 10 years' time. One of the key things I will tell them is consistency. Post consistently, build that brand. So, I personally don't post all that much. I post only when I think there is something I have to say. But then I don't fancy myself a content creator. There are people I know who post every day, but the more original the content, better I think your brand is built. So these are the few things that I would request the freshers to start doing, and this applies to mid managers as well. There is very good science on generalists surviving a specialist world. Any AI can be a better specialist than you, but at this time, all AIs are specialists; they are not generalists. And the power of a generalist is that you can take learning from one field and apply it to another, which an AI natively cannot do. That is exactly what general intelligence would be, right? What you learn from chess, can you apply to war? That is not typically an AI thing. So, freshers who have an interest across a varied, wide subject will find themselves better placed than someone who's super specialized and therefore can be disrupted by AI.
That makes sense completely. And as you touched upon the point of personal branding, right? So we see today that founders are actually investing a lot of time, money, everything, efforts on their personal branding because that has also become a very powerful way of marketing in this digital age because people like to follow people rather than brands. If you pick up a founder, you see he will mostly have more followers than the brand he has, right? So on that, if you have to give like few points, 2 3 points what they can do if let's say if somebody is starting, be it founder, be it like somebody working in somewhere and they need to create a brand because as you know today everywhere personal branding is becoming super important and a lot of people have actually reached out to me that how to actually get started with it. Some people are shy, some people think that people will judge on what they write, what they post. So if you have to give few nuggets, what that will be for them to start with?
So this is probably the oldest form of marketing. It's called content marketing. For that, you need to understand who your target audience is or target category is and what is useful for them. So normally what I'm seeing in personal branding is a lot of very lazy writing. I'm seeing a lot of people come across and you know figure out, Acha, Suryansh has written something which is interesting to me. Let me rewrite it in completely different way and post it. Some people are just gonna rewrite that using, let's say, perplexity. Rewrite this in a different way, right? That will not cut it. Your audience is going to look at the value of what you are writing or what you're saying, what you're narrating. If you understand your TAM, you understand your ICP, figure out things that you can do well that will benefit their life. So if you look at the good founders, right, the good, I will not use the word influencer, I will use the word content creators. The good ones are talking stuff either that is radically different or it's a different take or it's infinitely better than what is gonna be. So if someone wants to build their personal brand, they have to build A, authentic narrative, B, an authentic take on something that's happening, and really add value. Let me take an example here. Let's say that you found that in your media plans that you can do better by removing organic keywords, by brand keywords. Now, this has been researched, there are papers on it. If you are going to say that in a sea of people where everybody is saying PMAX, PMAX, or programmatic, you will stand out. You will invite some attacks, but you will engage, you will make people think. That makes sense. If I have written that note and somebody else sees it and rewrites it and posts it, that person is not authentic. However, if I didn't distribute my original piece, then the other person has become original. So, first part, create interesting cut through content. Second, ensure that your distribution also is good. That is the second part. Third part, algorithms across LinkedIn, Substack, etc. They like it when you are consistent. If you post once in a while, then the algo is not going to invest in you. However, if you build a nice social media calendar like how you build for brand, and you post at least once a week, maybe even twice, you'll be better off. And lastly, you posting, you're not Bill Gates, right? You posting but not engaging with your audience. So you have to post, distribute, and you have to engage and address queries, and not just on your profile, but on other things as well. So, for example, Suryansh, if you write something and I don't engage with you, LinkedIn is not even going to show you my post. And chances are also that you will not feel inclined to comment on my post, even if you like it.
Yeah.
And you know what is worse? Even if I ask a nice question, you might just give me a like, or if you're feeling charitable, you might give me a heart, but you will not engage with that content further.
Yeah.
So, A, create cut through content, distribute it widely, engage with your audience, and engage with other things as well. Remember this at all times. Your best friends are great when you're having a drink at home. But if you want to succeed in the social space, you need more loose contacts, acquaintances, where they will also spread the word across their network, not just yours. There's no point in showing the same person your post 10 different ways. Spread it up.
That is really helpful. So, as we are pressed for time, I would want that if we can end this with your advice to people. And because you have worked in international market and I meet a lot of people online who always keeps me asking, especially out from India, that how can we, let's say, get a job abroad. So if you can shed some light on how did you move abroad or how to actually look for a job abroad and probably just move to so that you can get international exposure, because I can see a lot of people want that, but there's no clear set of steps that they can take. Most of the people are just applying blindly and getting no interview calls or nothing.
I think whatever we discussed from a brand and business point of view applies here as well. You are the business, you are the product, and your personal brand is your brand. So if you want a job outside the country, you need to build your network outside the country. And today's world, where you can connect with people on LinkedIn, you can look at remote working opportunities. There's so many of them. Are just applying on LinkedIn or Indeed. That's not good enough, because the ATSs that track your CVs are going to be driven by algorithm. What I would recommend to anybody who asks me, and I speak with a lot of freshers who do this, after seeing the job description, and by all means apply, but don't apply immediately. Find out who you know who works in that company or in the allied industries. Get them to speak on your behalf to the person who's either posted the job or who's the hiring manager for that job. Get your CV in that way, because the ATS is completely algorithmic. We don't know what levers it is pulling, how is it culling. In a place like India, where for every job description there are 1,000 applicants, it's going to be very difficult for you to stand out, because however exceptional you are, there will be similar people, and you don't know if your CV is showing how exceptional you are.
Yeah.
CV is just a piece of document. So one, build your network outside the country. Two, do not just apply directly and wait for things to happen. So make contacts, reach out. Even if this particular job doesn't work out, it will still work out sometime later,
Yeah.
because you've made a new useful contact. And lastly, apply remotely for work that is remote. It allows you to step out of the country. and do it before you turn 30. Your risks are lower. You can always reinvent yourself. By the time you're 27, 28, right, you are set in your ways. The kind of food that you eat, your favorite food is known to you already. After you turn 30, it's difficult to have a new favorite food or a new favorite
That's
person,
that's
right?
very interesting.
It's difficult to learn new languages once you turn a certain amount of ages. But again, my larger point is uh, spread your wings, explore new horizons, make as many useful contacts as you can earlier. I'm not saying even if you're 40, you should not try new things, but I'm saying it's easier when you're younger
Yeah.
and do it. Make as many contacts as possible. Take chances. The maximum that can happen is somebody say, boss, not interested. That is the worst that can happen. And I'm not saying be a pest. Huh? I'm just saying reach out to new people and see what happens. And look out for opportunities across multiple sites, not just on LinkedIn, not just on Indeed. Maybe we work remotely, right? Maybe Angel List or what used to be called Angel List. So this is what I would do. And also try to keep yourself abreast of things that are happening through MOOCs and other fora where you also make contact.
So we
That's it.
can see, like, during this entire discussion, few of the themes coming out in every aspect of marketing or even like succeeding at different level is that your personal branding, personal network, marketing yourself as a brand is becoming more and more important. So be it younger people, founders, marketers, or whoever. So I think that's really helpful.
And the effort, the discipline
The
and
discipline.
consistency and effort, right? You have to put in the effort as a founder.
Absolutely. So, Surya, thanks for talking to us and giving so many learnings that you have collected over a couple of decades. I'm sure our audience will really benefit from that. And always great talking to you. Thank you so